Dean 7804. If you want to get all technical, it's 2 hours, 2+ hours, taking y'all straight up the lock, nonstop NBA DFS conversation. Big boy slate, not messing around. 12 gamer, loading a bunch of games because there's no games tomorrow and Tuesday night. We're going to be watching some hockey. Tomorrow night. I'm going to be playing some hockey. Sure, why not? And then Wednesday is loaded up too. Again, another one of those weeks where it's an unbalanced schedule. Wednesday, I think it's like 13 or 14 games. No games tomorrow. Tonight, we got 12. We have Keith Eister. Your first time on the show this year for me. I'm not sure if you've jumped on one of the crunch times over the weekend, but welcome. It's you're jumping right in. It's a 12 gamer. You were up late into the night doing the projections, tinkering with Lineup HQ, and whatever you did, half it's probably been thrown out since the new injury. So don't you feel like you're doing a spectacular job? What's up?
Yeah,
welcome to the show.
Thank you. I've been on a couple of crunch times already this season, but first GrindersLive, I believe. And yeah, that was a beast of an upload last night. 12 games, 24 teams. And then, like you said, all the injury news breaks throughout the day, and everything I did last night gets reworked, and we have a whole new set of projections. But it's got to be done. You've got to have some data in there in the morning. So, and a lot of it stays the same. You adjust for whatever injuries happen. But I have to say, I know it's basketball season and football season, one of the best sports times of the year, but my Cubs surprised the entire baseball world by signing Craig Counsell, which was very exciting, not because I think managers matter all that much, but just an exciting direction of the team. Like, you don't sign the highest paid manager in baseball to field a 500 team. So definitely going to be very excited to see what the Cubs offseason looks like. Got to get that out before we start breaking down these 12 games.
They got plenty of money out there too. And also, like, that's a revenge game, right? Now, the Chicago and Milwaukee, I know, like, whenever the games are in Milwaukee, like the Cubs play in Milwaukee, it's like half the crowd or more than half the crowd. It sells out. They all come over from Chicago. So I'm not sure if, the Milwaukee people are going to be upset at Counsell. I'm curious how that works, but we have no time to get into such things because it is a 12 gamer. I do want to say what's up in the chat. Kindly, please hit that like button. Do subscribe. Do turn on those notifications. And I'd love to get to your questions. We'll do our best to do that. If nothing else, the questions will be answered and asked on crunch time when Roth comes on later with Tim and TJ. But we have to fly in and just jump out to knock out this 12 gamer. There hopefully are a couple games that are kind of sort of somewhat catch me up games, and I think there's a couple games that look really, really good. Obviously, with 12 games, there's a lot of body parts that are up in the air as far as who's in and who's out currently. Luka Doncic, my guess is he doesn't play. Currently questionable with his quad. It looks really like a legit injury. Kyrie's got a foot. He's also questionable, so that one could be, theoretically some value can really open up on Dallas if both sit. Jokic has a wrist. He was just added to the injury report, but probable. He was spotted putting an ice pack on his wrist, but, he is officially probable, so I assume he's going to play. That is the only night game, which is kind of weird. I shouldn't say night game. They're all night games, right? The only game, what is it, 10 o'clock? Yeah, not 9 o'clock, right? 12 games. And 11 of the 12 games start 8 o'clock or earlier, which is pretty wild.
Yeah.
We don't get that very often. I think 4 are starting at 7 o'clock. We're going to have 11 basketball. You know what? Actually, we'll have 12 basketball games on at once, right? That assuming that the Denver game starts 9-10 or whatever it is on the East Coast. Yeah, you got to get yourself 3 quad boxes to watch all the games tonight. Porzingis is questionable too. Orlando's pretty thin. Fultz was ruled out. Devin Vassell is out. San Antonio, I thought we might get some goofiness with on the back-to-back and Wemby, and they went to overtime last night. He played 38 minutes or so, but Pop said, and we know Pop, we could trust Pop. He said he's not resting anybody, and they did give Keldon Johnson, big body Keldon Johnson, a wrist. He is questionable. We'll talk about the rest as we go along, but yeah, Keith, any one injury you're focused on, just overarching thoughts as far as the slate in general, because it's a lot. It's a lot, and we're going to get through it.
Yeah, I mean, it's an overwhelming amount of options. Obviously, the biggest news is Luka, like you mentioned. That changes quite a bit here. As far as anything else, we're still waiting on questionable wise. I don't know that, like Porzingis, I don't know that it matters a ton. SGA would be, Al Horford not going to move the needle for me. But Luka obviously matters. If Luka and Kyrie are out, all of a sudden they become the best value spot of the night. But we've got plenty of stuff already. There's plenty of value, all kinds of green in lineup HQ if you sort by RG value. So you're going to like your lineups tonight. You're going to need a big score with this many games and this much value. That's just kind of the general overview. If you like something that we don't talk about, it does not mean that it's not in play.
All right. Very first game on the slate. Again, there were four games, I believe, at 7:00. First one we're going to talk about is that San Antonio game. San Antonio and Indiana, 238.5 is the total. That is a monster total. And San Antonio they're a pretty big dog here, about 9 point dog. Again, they're on the back half of a back-to-back. They played overtime last night. Wemby did play 38 minutes or so, but these are two teams that play pretty fast. They play poor defense. I was looking at foul stuff, and again, I know it's like 5 or 6 games, and I'm always kind of concerned about foul trouble with certain players. Turner's one of them, and both these teams are in the bottom 5 so far this year in terms of drawing opponent fouls. Again, grain of salt, 5 games, but I thought that was at least worth noting. Devin Vassell is out. He might be out for a while. He's already out. And Keldon Johnson's got that wrist, so he's not playing. Indiana is fully healthy. Yeah, Keith, if we're going to power rank the games tonight, 1 through 12, I think this is at least in the top 4 or so. Am I being ambitious saying that? I think so, right?
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think that's ambitious at all. It's two teams that play bad defense, two teams that play really fast. So I definitely want some pieces from this game. A lot of times on this show, we'll talk about wanting to fade the first set of games and hope for some more news. That's important if we don't have Luka news by lock, but that's about the only thing we're waiting on. So I'm willing to fill up some roster spots with this game, even if we don't have Luka news. On the Spurs side, it's pretty easy for me. It's Wembanyama. The price hasn't fully adjusted to this ceiling yet, I don't think. We're starting to see the minutes come up. Like he started off kind of in the high 20s, but now we're starting to see 34 minutes, 37 minutes, and I know that was in overtime. But we should see 30-plus minutes here from Wemby, and that is really exciting with as big of a point per minute monster as this guy can be.
That is my one concern. If this game gets ugly, I think he gets pulled pretty quickly, right? But like you're probably not getting there anyway, right? If the game is ugly, it's probably not going to happen no matter what. But my concern is like he's got there's a slight injury history with him, and of course San Antonio is going nowhere this year. They want to develop him as much as possible. They want to keep him healthy as well. But I was just thinking maybe he has like a quick hook. But we are projecting, was it 32, 33? I was looking at it before as far as his minutes. I meant to 32. Pull it up, and 32. Yeah. But like Halliburton on the other side is just awesome. We love Halliburton. 1.58 DK points per minute this season. All his rates are up as well. The matchup against San Antonio is pretty sweet as well. Miles Turner, we were talking about this in the Discord. People aren't aware. Discord channel is free. NBA Discord channel is free. Was hanging out with the people. RotoGrinders.com/Discord and just jump in the NBA channel. Most of the channels are free. That one happens to be free. And talking about how Turner, like he's a tricky player when he's kind of sort of chalky. And let's see what the ownership is. Now this is we just got a new batch. Okay. As of 5:00, and it's a big slate, of course. Scrolling to get the ownership, and 17%. I don't know if I should use it's kind of sort of chalky, right? For a 12 gamer. So it's a fair bit of ownership. Basketball, players can get up 60, 70% depending on certain situations. Talk to me about the Pacers. Halliburton looks awesome, but I would also say, and I'm sure you've seen this as well, there's some really good, really strong point guards today on this slate that are pretty spendy. Trae Young, SGA if he plays. I have several others that I can't think of for whatever reason. Tyrese Maxey versus Washington. So like you got to get it right. Yeah, Pacers, Halliburton, Turner, then there's everybody else, I think.
Yeah, I agree with that. Those are the two screaming values for sure. Don't love the ownership on Halliburton. I'm not sure that I get to the Fields ownership if he really comes in 24%. Like you said, it is a 12-game slate. We have a lot of options, but I do love the spot for Halliburton. It's one of my favorite game environments of the slate. It's just it being the first game. Like if Luka gets ruled out, I want to have some roster spots. So I probably end up like 20% on Halliburton, maybe 25%, and just kind of match the field on that. But I love the spot for him. Turner, I want to be underweight on. There's great options at the center position. There's value at the center position that we'll talk about for sure. A guy that can get into foul trouble, like you said, when he's chalky, like he's failed in the spot many a times. It's a great spot for him. He's too cheap for his role, but probably a guy I'm underweight on also.
Any sort of rules correlation with this game? Like if, if you're going to if this game goes off, you're assuming that Wemby and Halliburton probably are having really strong games. You're doing any of that as far as putting any rules in the optimizer for you?
I do think playing them together makes sense. Just because, like, if news breaks later on in the slate and this game happens to bust, then at least they're together and you can do a bunch with your other rosters and like mix them around and work in different guys and things like that a lot easier. So I do like, and the rule that I would put in is if playing Wembanyama, 1 to 2 of Halliburton and Turner, I think it makes a lot of sense.
I like that rule. Is this where Wembanyama, where is he going to settle at as far as 8-5 right now? Does he settle in the 9s? Does he settle in the 10s? Where do you think he settles?
Oh, I mean, this year he's probably
this year
just short of 10. But
okay.
I think long term, I mean, we're talking like Giannis levels here. But yeah, I think this year he's probably like not a 95 is probably the right price. But that
2 years
could
ago,
be wrong.
Giannis. This year's Giannis is a little, it's early, but
true,
not spectacular. Other pieces in this game, Branham is getting some extra run. He's cheap, and we can't just get all the big spends. Is he interesting? Trey Jones kind of sort of somewhat could be interesting, getting a little more run in the absence of Gasol. But a Big Body Johnson, if he sits, I don't know, McDermott. I'm not saying to play McDermott. I'm just trying to think where those minutes go. And I'm sure that's what you're trying to figure out too, being a part of the projection team. Jetty Osman, does anybody elevate, or it's just like a bunch of guys get like 3 or 4 or 5 extra minutes and it doesn't really matter a heck of a lot?
So the thing with like the Sohan Trey Jones situation is really interesting because they're sharing point guard minutes. I wonder if they would just play Sohan a lot more as like a wing instead of a point guard. I mean, he's still going to get some point guard minutes no matter what, but I could see Sohan quite a bit if Keldon was ruled out.
Question in chat. Michael is asking, this is important because I didn't realize this was this high. Let's see. Michael, hit the refresh button. He's saying 20% ownership on Jalen Smith, and maybe he was a while ago. I don't know. There might have been a glitch of some sort in the lineup HQ, but that has since been fixed. He's at 4.2K, 1% ownership, 19-point projection. Yeah. Okay. So I don't know if that was there at some point, but Jalen Smith is probably not a priority for you tonight. Fair to say.
That's fair to say.
Anything else, or shall we move on? That game looks like it could be a lot of fun. Definitely going to get some pieces. And I'm with you as well. I try to skip the 7:00 games if I can, but there's a whole bunch. Also, a lot of the games are coming at you at 7:30 and 8:00 as well.
Right.
And so yeah, the Dallas game is 7:00. We're going to talk about that next. Or should we just pass on that and kind of come back to it and hope we get so we're not wasting time if then.
Yeah, that sounds like a plan, because I mean it's a wildly different game if Luka is out.
We'll come back and touch on it, and hopefully we get some news at some point. We're an hour and 45 minutes until lock. We've seen, by the way, several times this year, Keith, what is going on with this? It's an epidemic. Last night with the starting lineup for,
oh my goodness.
Okay, so Bismack Biyombo went from off the street to playing 0.2 seconds to starting, and they announced he was starting as they announced he was starting in the building, essentially. That's my understanding. And I think was Tillman benched, or was he hurt?
He was ruled out like 10 minutes after the game locked. So, yeah, it was essentially – so, first of all, they did not put out a lineup at all until 6 minutes before it locks on the fantasy sites. So, that was already tilting because we had David Roddy projected to start all day long. Then all of a sudden it's Tillman starting. And then like 3 minutes later, Tillman is ruled out, and now it's Biyombo starting. Like it was one of the worst screw ups of a lineup reporting that I have seen in a very long time. Like there needs to be fines for that type of thing for sure.
The Alec Burks thing too. We haven't seen a huge name where it's happened, but it's just the fact that it's happening. I don't like it. it. We're supposed to get rid of this stuff. Burks was scratched with a wrist in the middle of a slate, basically. Jonathan Isaac, no surprise there. He's out with his hamstring. We did get a Magic lineup. Black, Suggs, Franz Wagner, Bencaro, and Gogo Wataze is back at center. Jaden Ivey had the fish. He was out this weekend. He's out again today. That Detroit lineup, I guess we'll talk about it, but Detroit played some crazy rotations. They're playing guys 20 minutes in the first half. And we saw, what's his name's got an ejection streak. I guess we'll talk about that too.
Duran,
Beef Stew. No, Duran. Duran has been ejected now in 2 games in a row. All right, let's see if he can make a 3 tonight. We are skipping Dallas, Orlando. Hopefully we'll get to that, get some news on it in a bit. Put that on the back burner. Washington against Philadelphia. This is just it should be an absolute mauling here. The Wizards they're one of the worst defensive teams in the league. They play at a fast pace. They're an awesome opponent to take advantage. Just how long are you going to take advantage of them? 229 is the total. Philadelphia is a 12-point favorite. You got a little Kelly Oubre revenge, who's worked out really good so far in that side of lineup, but historically not a great three-point shooter. Maybe that reverts back. This feels amazing for Embiid, amazing for Maxey, but like, can Washington hang is the question. As far as who is in, who is out, I'm pulling up my injury news. Denny Avdia is questionable. Gafford's questionable. Kispert's questionable. All rotation guys for Washington. Everybody fully healthy on the Philadelphia side. And it's just a matter of, like, do you think Washington can hang? And probably not. But historically, we've seen Philly kind of, this is sort of like, I don't know, just watching the games, but I don't know if it's true or not. But it feels like they kind of play down to their opponent or just kind of let other teams stick around when they should, should have knocked them out like 10 minutes ago. Philadelphia, Washington, what do you got?
Yeah, I mean, if Gafford gets ruled out, not that Gafford do it anyway, but who else on this roster is going to have a prayer of slowing down Embiid? We could be looking at no chance. And Gafford doesn't have a chance either, but he's at least has a big body, but he just nowhere near the athlete that Embiid. Embiid is absolutely going to eat in this game for however long he is out there. We could be looking at like a 2 fantasy point per minute type of performance. If he only gets 25 minutes, that's not enough. But if he can get it into 30 minutes, I'm playing some Embiid today. This is one of the best spots that you can ask for a center. It gets even better if Gafford gets ruled out. So I like Maxey a good amount as well, but Embiid is definitely the priority here. He's the guy that I want to be over the field on.
I think he's projecting better raw points than Jokic, which we don't always see.
I think they're extremely close, or at least they were last night when I uploaded it. But yeah, they're both right in the mid 60s. I mean, two awesome.
Jokic barely has him. He barely has him. Yeah. Who do you prefer to those two? Straight up. I know there's other context, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, it's so close. They're awesome matchups for both. I think the matchup for Embiid, he's going to smash if this game can stay within like 15 points even. 32 minutes is plenty. I think it's a slight preference for Embiid for me, but it's so close.
Do you want to talk about Washington? If they play so many guys, that's the other thing is, like, they're not even like fun. Like, just a bunch of guys playing 20 minutes, 25 minutes, and they play deep. Here's this other terrible player. We're replacing that player that's just not as terrible, but is also terrible. There are some players that are, questionable. We kind of ran them down. Can you find anything that's worth talking about as far as Washington? Avdia is questionable. Gafford, Kispert, and they're not really going to play tight rotations. But theoretically, like, Kuzma's a guy who, like, if this game is close, he's probably the reason why. He's just shooting well. Poole as well, but we know he's just a walking gift these days. He's living his best life. Washington on this 12 game where we don't really have to mess with it, but in theory, there should be some value stuff if all these guys are out. But for now, I think I'm out on Washington.
Yeah, I mean, if everybody's out, then Koulibaly becomes somewhat interesting, and probably only on DraftKings because he's 3,900. The ceiling that I'm chasing would be from guys like Kuzma or Jordan Poole. Like you meant, it's going to take an extremely hot shooting night from one of those two guys. I suppose Kispert could get hot from 3, but I don't have a ton of interest in there just because the only thing he does is score. He's not super, super cheap, like 4,300. If he was 3,800, I might have some interest, but I think I'd just try to run it back with a Kuzma or Poole. I know Poole has been pretty awful shooting the basketball so far this season, so I do prefer Kuzma, but Poole does have the legitimate upside if he's making a shot.
All right, Detroit is at home versus Golden State. Both these teams on the back half of a back-to-back. The other teams playing back-to-back tonight. We mentioned San Antonio. Dallas as well, the back half of back-to-back. We saw Luka leave yesterday's game, struggling a bit. That's why I think he sits, but we'll see. Stay tuned on that. Nobody on the front end again because there are no basketball games tomorrow night. 224 is the total as far as Golden State and Detroit. Detroit's getting 7 at home. The injury list for Golden State, well, they gave Draymond an ankle. I think he plays in Detroit, right? That's his home state. We'll see. Stay tuned on that. As far as Detroit, Ivy out. Alec Burks, I don't think he's officially out. I think he's doubtful. And then the other guys have been out based Bogdanovich and Morris and Livers. Yeah, Golden State, Detroit, start wherever you want to start. I don't think Golden State is all that interesting at all. There's not much there for me when you consider prices and all that. Do you like any Warriors tonight?
I don't love Warriors, and it's because this rotation is kind of messed up. Like the pricing is messed up because Draymond missed the first couple of games, and then he played a couple games on limited minutes. Draymond is starting to get up there in minutes. He was up to 29 minutes in the last game. We have him projected for 30 right now, and it's a great matchup against Detroit. I think Draymond might be my preferred piece. Of course, you can always play Steph, but the ceiling games have been less frequent as he gets a little bit older here. Certainly there's still ceiling in there. You can always play Steph, but I think saving the money down to Draymond is my preference. Clay is very scoring dependent. Chris Paul has seen a slight reduction in minutes with Draymond back. Wiggins has been just atrocious to begin the season. Looney's not playing enough. So yeah, Golden State and their spread out rotation at this point, plus the pricing being off from Draymond missing a couple games. Pretty unappealing stuff, but Draymond would be my favorite, followed by Curry.
Yeah, the Wiggins situation there is not letting him close anymore. What I think GP3 has been closing a fair bit. And I know he's cheap, but he's just really not playing. Heck, he's not playing in the fourth quarter, essentially. I would mention specific to Fanduel, Klay Thompson. You're not getting the 3-point bonus over there, but he's down to 5-4, which is a pretty appealing price on Fanduel. So I think he's much more in play over there than he is on DK. As of right now, Keith, the player getting the most ownership in this game is Draymond. Now, do we have an update? I don't know if we've updated it since with Ivy out. Do we have our update without Ivy? Let's see. Yeah, okay. We have to delegate his 23 minutes around. This Austin Thompson, by the way, looks awesome.
Awesome.
Yeah. And a great stocks guy, too. Like he's kind of sort of like Draymond in that sense. What do you have? 4 and 4 the other day. Again, they played a ton of minutes in the first half. These guys are playing 18, 19 minutes yesterday. We're giving 35 to Cunningham, 35 to Stu. But again, this is going to change. I assume they're working on it right now. Maybe a minute or two bumped up to everybody else. But what I'm seeing right now is the Pistons are just not owned. Your thoughts as far as Detroit? The Durant, the salary has obviously jumped since his hot start to the season when he's not getting kicked out of games.
Yeah, so just on the Ivy stuff, I think Sasser is the biggest beneficiary here just from doing that swap over the weekend. He played 29 minutes. We have him for 23. So I think you're going to see at least a 4 to 5 minute bump on Sasser. Asar Thompson is definitely somebody that I wanted to touch on, especially having some of this like behind the scenes, what goes into a projection type of thing. Like you have an expectation for a guy coming into a season. Asar Thompson is not a guy that we expected to be putting up 7 to 10 rebounds for the season. And maybe that doesn't continue, but I mean, we're 7 games in now. And like the peripheral stats for Asar Thompson have just been incredible. Like you can't just throw everything that you assume on a guy out because of what he's done through 5, 6, 7 games. So like, as we're putting in rates and things on these projections, it's very difficult to sit here and project Asar Thompson to keep up this rebound rate throughout the entire season. So the projection could be light on him. That's a long way of saying the projection could be light on him. I think there's room up on this projection. He's definitely a guy that I want a couple of shares of. The price is coming up, but it's still not high enough, in my opinion.
I would also note, like, and again, small sample stuff, but he's one of those players that just the way he plays, not going to make threes, but he's also going to get you stocks. You know, he's a better Fanduel player than a better DK as opposed to DK. Not that you can't play him with DK. So far this year, 1.15 minutes per game on DK, 1.2 on Fanduel. And I wonder if anything's going to pop when we kick those 23 IV minutes around. They kind of like, you know, he's falling back anyway because they're focusing more on defense, I guess, than offense. Like maybe Sasser is, like you said, I'm not sure. Does he get in play? What does he play? 27 minutes maybe all of a sudden as opposed to the 23? Just I'm curious what they're going to, you know, and I know you're a part of the team. Obviously, you're not doing it on the fly, but
I if I had to guess a number, it'd be 28 right now. He played 29 in the last one. He was starting to see a roll off the bench even before that last game that Ivy got ruled out. So I think that we can feel pretty comfortable about upper 20s minutes here.
Yeah, I'll just jump back and see when they change the projections if there's anything kind of worth pointing out. But let's move forward. Let's talk about my terrible Miami Heat. The Heat are at home versus the Lakers. Finals rematch from a couple of years ago. 222.5 is the total. Miami is a 2-point favorite. Lakers just got walloped by the Magic. They hung around. I assume they probably have been hanging around in Miami for a day or two. LeBron's old stomping grounds. If you want to talk about the old Miami flu, you never really know. But yeah, the Lakers and the Heat, as far as injuries, body parts, and this, Miami just lists everybody as probable, which is like, I'm sure you must hate the Heat because
I hate the Heat. Absolutely hate them.
Butler is always probable with a knee, and then at some point they'll downgrade him if they want to, but we're expecting him to play. Robinson, we're expecting him to be available. Kevin Love kind of out of that rotation now. Hachimura for the Lakers is still out with the concussion. Vincent is still out. Vanderbilt, I don't think he's played yet this season. Lakers, Miami, one of the more unappealing games, I think. Miami Heroes, they're saying, okay, you're going to make us keep him. I'll show you. We're going to play him 40 minutes a night. How about that? We're going to showcase this guy and bump his numbers up. You don't want this big contract? You sure? Yeah, Lakers, Miami, what do you got?
On the Lakers side, I mean, it's LeBron and AD. AD's been incredible. The pace of this game does not project well, but the price for Davis at 9,900 on DK, I think is very intriguing. He's been very good to start the season. Not the best matchup, but ownership looks great. I think the price tag is a touch low. Opportunity cost at center, obviously, we've talked about Embiid already. Jokic is in a great spot. There's value centers as well. But I think I want a couple of shares of AD at least. LeBron, I don't know what to think about this minutes thing. Like, ever since they said he was going to be, complete lie.
he was playing against, not to cut you off, but they were playing against Orlando the other night, and they were down like by 20 points with like 7 minutes to go, and he was still out there.
And he still played 32 minutes. And they were talking like 32 minutes was going to be his ceiling. Well, he's got a 42-minute game in there, a 39-minute game. So
you tell LeBron he's not playing 32 minutes.
Yeah, right. So I'm not buying that there's a cap on this LeBron ceiling, especially in what we expect to be a pretty close game here. You can play LeBron as well just for ceiling. I do prefer AD if I have the center spot available. Russell is somewhat intriguing, and even Austin Reeves, probably not on this slate, but Austin Reeves is a guy who's off to a slow start. I expect him to be better as the season goes along, but probably not on this slate.
Yeah, ownership-wise, as far as this game, not a lot, right? 3% on Butler is the biggest number we have. Reeves at 3%. Hero is all the way up to 8-1, but it's pretty justified. By the way, we got a note that SGA is going to play. Yes, we called that one correctly, and I was drafting him on Underdog earlier today. He was buried in that. I don't know if you play on the Underdog at all, but that was kind of fun. You take a little bit of risk reward, but I thought for sure. They gave him the tag pretty quickly today. The upgrade, the questionable. That's going to be, we'll talk about that game in a second, but Atlanta, OKC should be a blast. They also gave Trae Young, like you played college there in Oklahoma, he got like a drive or a street named after him. Little narrative street for you. We'll talk about that game soon enough. Gafford, Avdia, Kispert, game time decisions. Thanks for the update. According to somebody in chat, now this is not officially across my Twitter timeline, but Steven's telling me Luka and Kyrie are in according to Mike Jiris. I don't know if it's one of the beat writers or something like that. Okay. Now Don Yeezy's saying Kyrie is in, which I thought he was the one more likely to play. I didn't think Luka was going to play. They're both going to play. Okay, that makes it easy because I think we just cross them out, but we can sort of jump over there and knock that game out. I talked about, all the point guards I like today. Love Halliburton, 9-4. FEV, 7-5. Maxey, 8-3. Brunson, we haven't talked about it yet, but 8-4, he's solid. Young at 9-3. SGA at 10-4. Like, how do you pay $12K for Luka? I'm not playing it. What does he have to do? Like, some of those guys are going to put up like 60 or 65 or 58. What does Luka have to do to justify that $12K? It's just, I'm not doing it. You're making more lineups than me. What are you doing with Dallas? I should reset that game. Dallas is in Orlando, 222.5. It's a total. Dallas, they were a 4-point dog. Maybe that changes a little bit on some speculation and somebody being out. I think they were a 1-point dog at home last night. But yeah, I'm not playing anybody in the Mavericks tonight versus the Magic, who've been very good defensively this year.
Yeah, I think it'd be a different conversation if Embiid and Jokic weren't in such great spots. We'll talk about Giannis too, but you kind of hinted that the production has been down for Giannis. It's not been down for Luka, but Kyrie has missed some time, and this price tag is just really tough to get to. There are mid-range point guards that are in excellent spots as well that I think make it even more tough to play Luka. So I'm kind of with you. He's going to be unowned. He could absolutely go off for 80 fantasy points. I think I reserve my big spends for the centers in Embiid and Jokic, but I mean, I can never say you shouldn't play Luka, but I don't think I'm getting to him either.
Yeah, but yeah, that's the whole thing. And if we sat here and said like you should play Luka, I mean, we can't. Then we're saying you can play anybody. Yeah, of course you can play him, obviously, but actionably, am I going to be playing Luka tonight? No. And can he put up 80 fantasy points? Sure. And I don't know if I'm fully buried, but it's trouble. Well, nobody's going to play him, right? So tree in a forest, I suppose, and it falls. But I guess in large field stuff, if you want to get 2%, 3%, and the other stuff on Dallas is basically that's nothing. I don't think I'm playing anybody in Dallas outside of or anybody. It's just all together. But Orlando is where we have to talk about, right? That's the more important team, and they're going to be pretty popular with all their injuries. Fultz is out. Wendell Carter is out. Jonathan Isaac is out. Gary Harris is out. Those are all guys that would get some, Fultz and Carter are probably the big ones. Harris and Isaac would get some run as well. We saw Goga. Goga started the other night. He smashed. He's always been a good fantasy point minute player. It's just how many minutes he's going to get. He played, I think, 30 or so. We're projecting him from 28. He's center and center only. We always talk about opportunity cost when it comes to center. He's currently getting 38% ownership. I guess we're going to get a refresh on that, so that might change a little bit. But he's going to be popular. And anybody that didn't play him the other night's bummed they didn't play him. Anybody that did is probably going to double down. Then Suggs is probably too cheap. Anthony's probably too cheap. Banchero probably a tick too cheap, but you got to spend for him. But he looks really, really good. Franz Wagner, all five of those are in play for me. Black is starting, so I guess he could be in your pool, but he's my least favorite probably on the Magic of guys that might get played. Goga's an interesting position point today. Where are you at as far as Patase?
Yeah, I think it matters which site you're playing on for Goga and your exposure to him. On FanDuel, it's a very difficult conversation because you have to consider the elite range of the center position. And yes, Goga is a screaming value, one of the best values on the entire slate. But do you want to give up the upside of an Embiid or a Jokic to play Goga? It's a lot more difficult conversation on FanDuel. On DraftKings, I think it's just how far over the field do I want to be? I think you could go as far as lock buttoning Goga today on DraftKings, where you have the utility spot. It's a 12-game slate, but he's an awesome per-minute producer. The minutes, I suppose I could see a world where he gets in foul trouble and plays 20 minutes or something in this spot. But the fact that they rolled him out as the starter over Mo Wagner in the first game when we had WCJ out, I feel pretty confident that Goga is the guy that they want to get an extended look at here. Like, they know what they have in Mo, that maybe they think there's some development left for Goga. As long as he stays out of foul trouble, I think we can see upper 20s minutes here with potential for like 30. So like, the value is incredible. The ownership is what it is. On NBA, it doesn't matter near as much as it does some of the other sports that we talk about. Like, if he plays the minutes, he's going to put up the fantasy points. So I definitely want to be over the field on him. I don't think I'm going to lock him in 20 lineups, but I might have something like 80% of him. It's going to land somewhere between that 60 and 80% probably on Goga for me. I do want to note, though, I don't love this game environment overall. So, like, a lot of times we'll talk about how many players can you roster from one team. I think Orlando, while their values are showing enough to where I would consider 3 to 4, I think on this massive 12-game slate, I'm only going to allow 2 Magic in any lineup.
I ran optimals like earlier in the day, and obviously things changed throughout the day, but I think 4 were showing up in the first lineup. And I'm like, there's no way I'm playing 4 players in the Magic in tournaments. Like, it's just no chance. No chance that happening for me. But Taze still, like you said, still just 24. Like, theoretically, I guess they might think they can turn him into something. Historically, he has been pretty handsy as well, over 5 personal fouls, 5.3. You want to get all technical, per 36. He will take some dumb fouls. Dallas can play small, right? And could Batazzi get played off the court if Dallas plays small? Because they're not a big team, is my last concern with Batazzi. But, it's also kind of a gift, theoretically, if Batazzi plays 28 minutes, just take it and just lock in those points and get different elsewhere. Do you see a scenario where Batazzi gets played off the court? It's just too big for the game?
I think with Lively there now, they're going to play Lively 20 minutes at least. Dwight Powell is there. He's a guy that I don't think they necessarily think they have to play. But I think they're still in evaluation mode on Lively and development mode, really. Like they want to turn this guy into like a major rotation piece, a major contributor to pair with Luka and Kyrie. So I think Lively's going to be out there. And as long as that's the case, then Goga should be out there as well. Powell will get a little bit of run, but I could see a scenario where there's not 48 center minutes. In fact, we're not even projecting 48 center minutes. So I do get that point, but there's going to be enough for Goga to get out there for 20 at least. And even at 22 minutes, I think he's a good play.
He's going to take at least one dumb foul on Luka, like at least one. Just don't take 4.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Yeah, if you've watched Goga Bitadze play, he takes some dumb fouls. He doesn't realize that there's 6 and you get kicked out of the game. All right, let's move on. I think this is a catch me up game. You tell me otherwise if it's not. Next game up we have is the Clippers. The Clippers at New York. This will be James Harden's debut. RJ Barrett is officially questionable, right? I don't know how much that matters. You tell me, right? Is it Barrett? Has he been upgraded? I think he's questionable still, right?
Questionable as far as I know. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. And the Clippers are fully healthy with the exception of Terrence Mann. Again, Harden expected to play. 223 is the total. Not a huge total. New York is a slight favorite here against the Clippers. Do you want to give like 20? Do you think this is going to work? Are you excited for I saw somebody on Twitter said like nobody's going to beat this team in 7. Like, are you sick? Come on, what year are you living in, man? Like it's a force. They're going to be fine, but it's not going to be great.
Is this not sort of exactly like Westbrook to the Lakers? And we're like, there's not enough like ball handling minutes to go around. Like LeBron needs the ball in his hands. This is not going to work. Well,
except LeBron's better than Kawhi and Davis is better than George. But yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I'm trying to pull it up right now. Somebody wrote up a Harden under assist prop because we have the quote that he's going to it was Charlie. I want to make sure I give him credit. And I want to get the exact quote here, but the Sixers have like the 4 guys, Harden, Westbrook, George, and Kawhi, all need the ball in their hands. I'm missing what he said exactly about it right now, but made a really good point in why he likes the under assists on Harden.
5.5.
I'm sorry, it was Nick. I was looking at the wrong blurb here. 4 of the top 12 players in isolation possessions in those 4 guys that I just named. So Nick is all over it. Like there's just not enough. Like there's only 1 basketball and they need 2 basketballs.
Yeah, Julius Randle might need 3 basketballs in order for 1 to go in. He's missed everything so far this season. But like theoretically, he can get hot, but he just keeps shooting, and that should be Brunson's team. Like Brunson must be getting sick of Randle just missing shots after shots. As far as New York, I think Brunson's like the most playable. I guess you could play Randle because if he actually starts making his shots, there is a ceiling, and he's been doing okay despite missing shots. I don't really have much else. Again, this game is not terribly interesting. I don't know if I'm making enough lineups to get any of those guys. And I ran down all the point guards I like. I like Brunson. I just don't think he's in the front of the line. New York, what do you got?
Yeah, I'm with you. Brunson becomes slightly more interesting if Barrett sits again. But I don't think I get there. Like really slow paced game. No chance you can play Clippers because Harden coming there. They've said Harden's going to be on a minutes restriction. It's going to mess up the usage of everybody. I feel like the Clippers are just going to be a little bit out of sorts in Harden's first game. So no chance I'm playing them, which means I don't necessarily need Knicks run backs or anything like that. So probably pass on them. Maybe I grab a sprinkle of Brunson if Barrett sits.
Yeah, and we got to wait for prices to adjust on the Clippers for a couple of games, I think, until they become interesting or at least playable.
If Barrett sits, Quickly is interesting just because he's still going to be unplayed. He's not a name that people immediately think of. Like when Barrett goes out because they're not like a 1-for-1 swap. Like Josh Hart's going to step into the starting lineup instead of Quickly, but Quickly's going to get a lot more usage with that second unit. And he also goes from like 24 minutes to probably 28 minutes. I think that's playable at 5,700.
I wanted to see if we had an if-then on Barrett. We do. Oh, we do. Okay. Yeah. So Brunson does jump up to B. Like we talked about Brunson. His DK projection would jump to like 45 as a median projection. I think he's around 42, 43.
He's 40
So
right
yeah,
now.
that's a pretty big jump. 39 minutes, by the way, which is not outrageous because Tibbs does not care about Brunson's health when he's an old man. But yeah, all right. So yeah, Brunson, throw him in the pool if he's getting that much of a jump. And Randall would jump to 42 as a DK projection, which is also worth a look. Hart 28. The price has jumped up a little bit, not a ton of ceiling, but he could be like okay. Let's move on. Next game is Milwaukee and Brooklyn. 233.5 is a total. Milwaukee is a 5-point favorite in Brooklyn. Milwaukee is fully healthy. As far as Brooklyn, they're still without two of their key pieces. No Cam Johnson. Cam Johnson and Nick Claxton. Walker is probable with his knee. The price is down on Giannis, but like Giannis is down too. But it's worth a look. The addition of Lillard, we're still kind of figuring out what this team is. Yeah, obviously they're still figuring out as well. Milwaukee, Brooklyn. Is this an exciting game for you? This one's kind of lukewarm at best for me.
Lukewarm at best, but 10-6 Giannis at 2.5% ownership is mighty intriguing. I have to say, I know like they're still working on figuring it out. Giannis's rates are down to begin the season. We expect the usage to take a little bit of a hit here with Dame in town, obviously. Brooklyn on the interior, especially without Nick Claxton. I mean, like Ben Simmons, I don't think is going to have much of a chance to guard Giannis. As a really low-owned large field tournament play, I know there's massive ceiling with Jokic and Embiid as well, but it wouldn't surprise me if like this is the game that Giannis and Dame click a little bit and Giannis just goes nuts in this spot. So it's not going to be more than like a 10% play for me, but I do want at least a share or two of Giannis.
Have the prices adjusted on Brooklyn, without Claxton, without Johnson, where like nobody's really all that interesting. You certainly can play some dudes theoretically, but I'm looking at the ownership right now. Bridges I like just fine, but I don't think I'm going to get there as far as the asking price. DFS has been good this year. Probably his best, like small sample. Yeah. Probably his best, like fantasy year ever. He's been pretty good. The price bumped up a little bit. He's the most popular player. Dorian Finney-Smith on Brooklyn at 5%. Simmons at 5%. But I just don't see a lot here. I know people love themselves some Cam Thomas. 7-1. He basically just scores mostly. Not a lot of threes. He can hit threes, but it's just not. It's not it for me. I can only play so many lineups, and I'm out. I'm out on Brooklyn.
Yeah, I'm out as well. Shout out to Ben Simmons for getting that price up to $7K. He's been like incredible this season. But I'm not playing him here against Milwaukee. And I like Milwaukee's actually been an outstanding matchup early in the season. They're bottom 5, I want to say still. They were even lower than that in defensive rating. So like with Dame in town, they have not been the same defensive juggernaut that they were with Drew there. So Milwaukee, I think, is a matchup that we can attack a little bit going forward, but don't love the pricing on Brooklyn. Like you said, it's kind of all adjusted for the news or the guys who have been sitting out. So nothing really to love here on Brooklyn.
Sacramento, Houston, 217.5 is the total. Sacramento is a 2-point favorite here. De'Aaron Fox still out for the Kings, as well as Trey Lyles. Houston pretty healthy, but no Tari Eason, no Amen Thompson. Man, Kevin Huerter, he's down bad. Red Velvet season has not been happening, unfortunately. Great nickname, but just horrific so far this year. Just kind of looking, theoretically he'd be a guy that can kind of jump up. Alperen Şengün's been really, really good, despite that they were trying to scare me in the preseason, like, oh, he's not looking great. The coaching staff doesn't love him, and he smashes. FEV is awesome. Who's been good? Dylan Brooks. Everybody hates Dylan Brooks, but he's been good so far this year, and Jabari Smith has taken a step forward as well. I kind of like some of these pieces on the Houston side. As far as DFS-wise, any of these guys sort of fit your builds, Sacramento, Houston? I feel like it should be like a higher total than it actually is. Doesn't it just like feel lower than it normally would be?
I mean, last year we would have absolutely been jamming this game, but Houston's actually been competent on defense is the problem here. If you don't think that's sticky, then maybe there's something to gun at here. I do like the game environment. I do think that the Houston defense has improved. Jabari Smith is certainly a nice defensive piece. Dylan Brooks is a great addition as an on-ball defender. So I'm buying that Houston's defense has improved, but I don't think they're quite as good as they have been. they've also been playing a lot slower than they did last year, which I don't know if that sticks either. I guess Van Vliet played slow in Toronto, but feel like they should be able to push the pace a little bit here with their athleticism. And then the Sacramento
third slowest Houston so far this year, third slowest pace.
Very surprising there that they're playing at the third slowest, but maybe
Toronto
maybe
the slowest,
sticks.
by the way.
Yeah.
Funny enough.
Pieces. Van Vliet is just way too cheap here for the Houston side. 7,500. He's going to play a ton of minutes. Şengün, I don't think I get there today. He certainly has upside. Just with the slower paced game, it's tough for me to want to click him. I probably just find a way up to the top tier center if I'm paying up to Şengün range.
He's baby Jokic though. He can get a little triple double every once in a while and mess around on occasion.
Yeah, I mean he's certainly fine. He's certainly fine, but I know I want to be overweight on Embiid and Jokic, so I'm just going to run out of center spots. I think is the biggest issue. He's only 6% on DraftKings here where I'm looking. That's a little bit surprising. I thought he was going to come in a little higher than that. So maybe I can get 10% of him or something, but just not a guy that jumped off the page. I think saving some money with Jalen Green is interesting. He hasn't been shooting that great either. But Van Vliet is certainly in play. Brooks is fine, like never a guy that's fun to roster. But I'm naming all these guys because I do want some exposure to the Sacramento side. Sabonis is another one of those centers with massive upside. No De'Aaron Fox. He should be able to take as many shots as he wants. Keegan Murray is a guy that I had really high hopes for coming into the year. He has not been able to make a three-pointer. What's that?
So did Sacramento, but
no doubt. But he has not been able to make a three-point shot to save his life. He is 1 of 15 in the last 2 games. He is cranking them out. They begged him to shoot more, and he has obliged. And he's shooting an insane amount of three-pointers, but he's not making any of them. If those 3 start going in, he's going to be too cheap. I don't know if I take shots on it on a 12-game slate. Just he's a guy I like. Malik Monk, I think, is the guy I want to have a big overweight stance on. Massive usage with the second unit here. No Fox. He should play plenty of minutes here. I like Malik Monk quite a bit.
He's got to score, but he certainly can score. He can put 20, 25 points in the bucket off the bench. Are you being super ambitious? Is Duarte also in the pool, or you're not getting that that frisky?
I mean, there's not a ton in the 3K range on this slate. So if you wanted to pay up twice to the top tier, I think that he's a guy I would consider. I just think that there's enough value in the mid-range with guys like Van Vliet on the other side of this game. I don't need to go down to this 3K range very much.
It's interesting. It's a matchup of 2 of the guys that, like the rookies from last year that were expected to take a big jump, or hopeful, I guess, take a big jump. And, Sacramento was talking about they wanted Murray to be a part of their new big 3. It hasn't happened just yet. Doesn't mean it can't. And then Jabari is the guy, like, he's fulfilled it. He's been taking that step for sure. Keegan, not so much. Jimmy Butler officially in. Duncan Robinson officially in. RJ Barrett officially in. So a little less excited about Brunson. According to Pop, Keldon is on track. That's big body Keldon Johnson on track to play tonight. And then we have, did I mention Duncan Robinson's available? Does anybody care? Well, I mentioned it no matter what, either way. Anything else here we should focus on this game, or shall we move on? FEV 22%, Jabari 21%. Those are the 2 most popular plays. I'm curious if you have a thought. And then, you mentioned Fox being out and you mentioned Sabonis. Why is it that Sabonis doesn't really get a bump fantasy-wise when Fox is out? Is that because the PNR is not being executed as well? Yeah. Sabonis is not going to take advantage of Fox running it. Is that the issue there?
I think that is exactly the reason. Fox is so fast and so explosive that people just have to stay with him for so much longer that Sabonis just gets so many open looks because of what Fox is doing with the ball in his hands. You put a guy like Davion Mitchell out there and there just isn't that same dynamic. So I definitely think that that's the reason.
All right. I love this game. I think a lot of people are going to love this game.
While you set up the next one, I'm going to jump out real quick and reset my camera here.
Yeah, no worries. Love this game. 12-game slate. This is a big boy number, 242. Not only is it 242 as far as the total with Atlanta taking on OKC, it's high and it's tight. OKC is like a 1-point favorite here. It's just a beautiful environment. 2 teams that are going to play at blazing speeds. I thought we might get, SGA later on in the day, and hopefully you can take advantage of that and ownership-wise. But I love him. I think he shines here against Atlanta. We have Trae Young coming back home against where we went to college. As far as who's in and who's out, Atlanta is fully healthy. OKC they're fully healthy as well, unless you want to acknowledge Kenrich Williams not being available. But are you as excited, Keith, as I am about Atlanta and OKC? And also, like, this just Chet Holmgren. I don't watch college basketball. That dude is good, man. He's like a difference maker. If he can stay healthy, I'm sold. And I tweeted this out. I'm like, I feel like we'd be losing our minds a little bit more. I'm not sure if that's the right phrasing, but we'd be more excited about Chet Holmgren if Wembanyama wasn't a thing. But we're all looking at Wembanyama like, oh, yeah, Chet, that's cute too. Well, look at this guy. But, yeah, he looks really good. He looks legit. And obviously the find of Jalen Williams looks like really solid as well. Love this OKC team. Like they're my second favorite team outside of, I got to be a Heat fan. That's where we've been, from the beginning. But, yeah, Atlanta, OKC, DFS tonight. What do you got?
Yeah, I totally agree with your Chet Holmgren thoughts there. Like, a 7-footer that can shoot that well is unheard of. Like, I mean, Kevin Durant, but he's not quite 7 foot. But like, Chet has a chance to be really good. I think I totally agree. We'd be talking about him a lot more if Wemby wasn't doing the same thing, 4 inches taller and even more athletic. But
yeah,
DFS wise, love the Trae Young call. Great spot for him. Great game environment overall here. I want to play an Atlanta center. I just don't know which one. So I probably just make the group of only one in any given lineup. Like, there's a chance that Capella loses minutes to Okongwu, and then I want a little bit of Okongwu as well. If Capella plays 26 to 28 minutes, I want some Capella. So I think you just put those two centers in a group, limit one in any lineup, and that's how you grab your exposure. But I'll take shots on both of them. Jalen Johnson has been really good this season. It's been rebounding at a very nice rate. So he's doing enough peripherally as a mid-range piece that fills a forward position. I'm very interested there. And then DeJounte is really cheap as well. Like, I know we haven't seen the ceiling as often from him, but there's still 60 DK point upside here. I don't know if this is the spot that he gets it, but I probably want to take a couple of shots on him as well. On the OKC side, it's SGA. Like, dude has been awesome this season. Legit taking another step, and he was already a superstar. The Jalen Williams thing looks real as well. So 6,700. But he feels a weaker forward spot. Like, point guards and centers, we're going to be talking about these guys at the forward. I think this is where you can find those mid-range guys who can, if they give you like 6-7x, you feel really good about that in a tournament. Jalen Williams is one of those guys. And then Chet, like, the price is coming up. He's overpriced probably, but I think he's similar to the Wembanyama stuff. Like, we don't know what the true ceiling is.
Yeah.
So I still think he's playable, even though he feels overpriced for his projection.
He's got to be a better Fanduel player than TK player, just as far as the scoring, right?
Because of the blocks. Yep. Yeah, he'll get you some blocks and steals for sure.
I'm just trying to find it in the fly. I also saw, like, to start the season, we give the 48 minutes to Capella and Okongwu. We split it up, we chop it up, and usually it's like 28-20. I feel like that's where it started, and Okongwu is closing that gap now, 25-23. Which is pretty interesting. If I'm going to play one, I think I play Okongwu over Capella. Holmgren 1.31. I was buying time. 1.31 Fanduel points per minute. 1.29 on DK. So slightly better on Fanduel. Of course, you can play him on both sides. Why are we only giving 29 minutes? They're asking in chat. It feels a little thin. Like, they do baby him a little bit, but he's played minutes into the 30s, right? What's up with those minutes there? Is that you or is that somebody else?
I feel like I had him a little higher last night, so not trying to throw anybody under the bus, but I'm pretty sure I had him at 30 last night. So we took a minute. Like, I understand it. Like, he certainly could play like 26. Like, there are the range of, like, you have to understand it's a median projection, right? So
yeah,
34 is probably his ceiling, unless it's like an overtime game, where he could play like 26 minutes. So you need to be somewhere in the median range of that. That's basically 29 minutes, right? So if the range is 26 to 34, 29 is the right median projection.
Time Lord Robert Williams to undergo knee surgery. Didn't even give Portland a chance to trade him. Portland better trade Brogdon right now. Like, this is where he's been spectacular for a couple games. He's healthy. He looks great. Portland, trade Brogdon. Like, just get something for the dude. There's no chance he's on Portland, right? End of the season. Like, there's no chance of that, I assume, unless he also hurts his knee or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, if he keeps playing like this, they should be able to get something solid for him.
get anything. But theoretically, he is a piece. By the way, just looking at ownership stuff, and I understand it, I get it, but I love it. If this is anywhere near correct, we have Trae Young for 3-4% on DK, and we have SGA at 2%. Is that going to hold? Is he really going to be 2%? Again, I understand why it's down, just because there's a lot of good big spends tonight. Am I going to get SGA at like 5% or 2% in single entry stuff? I certainly hope so. That sounds like a fun idea.
I think you are. I think you could get Giannis at 2%. I think you could get Luka at 2%. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of options. Everybody's on the slate. Yeah,
man. That sounds like a fun little game stack. I know it's going to eat up a lot of salary. Did we get an update when it comes to? This is as of an hour ago for what it's worth, and like the closer we get the lock, the more refined it becomes. Don't hold me to it, but that seems pretty appealing if that happens to be the case or anywhere close to that. We have 3 more games to knock out. We got crunch time coming in shortly. Kevin Roth, you got TJ, you have Tim. They're going to be taking you guys up the lock. Let's knock out these 3 games. Boston, Minnesota, 221 is a total. By the way, Draymond Green officially in. He is in tonight as predicted. Homecoming game for him. Celtics in Minnesota. They are 3-point favorites, 2.5-point favorites, give or take. 221 is the total. 2 of the best defensive teams so far this season. Minnesota playing well defensively. And there are some body parts out on Boston. No Derek White. Brissett's got a thumb. He's questionable. Oh, wow. They would really need him if Porzingis is out. He's currently questionable because he has an eye. Minnesota is fully healthy. What a weird game here, right? Because especially if Porzingis, I always kind of want to see it because Minnesota is so big. And I'm not saying we're going to see it tonight, but yes, their last game, we saw them play Cat, Gobert, and Nas, all 3 together for like a minute-ish. But just the idea how big they can be on Minnesota and Boston, if they're without Porzingis, like Horford's going to have to play them all in many minutes he can. I don't know what can he play, 30, 31, 32, 33 these days. And then it's like Luke Cornett. I'm not saying to play Luke Cornett. I'm just trying to think like what other bigs that they have. Brissett maybe. Boston, their first 5 is really, really good. It falls off pretty quickly. Celtics, Minnesota, your thoughts?
I mean, Tatum is the guy I want to start with. He's another one of those stars that you're just going to get at like 2% ownership. Michael in chat makes a great point that Halliburton is hogging all the ownership. That's exactly why I'm saying to be underweight on him a little bit. Like I love Halliburton as a play on this slate.
Same.
But the thought of getting like Giannis or Trae Young at 2%, Jason Tatum at 2% is pretty appealing. And you can pass so much of the field if one of those guys outscores Halliburton. I don't think it'd surprise anybody if Tatum goes for 60 in this spot.
Nope.
So definitely grab a little piece of him. Jaylen Brown probably doesn't find it as often, but he's kind of in that same mold. If Porzingis gets ruled out, I'd become even more interested in those 2 guys. That's about it on Boston. Just the 2 superstars. Probably like Cat is still really cheap. That's a very appealing price. It's not a great game environment. Don't love the matchup, but Cat at 8,100 feels too cheap. Edwards is another guy, another star with just massive ceiling upside that maybe you want to grab a share of.
We do have an if-then. If Porzingis is out, you're not going to like this, but Horford's going to become a really popular play. Maybe you are going to like that. I don't know. I'm not sure if you're going to play him or not, but he has got a strong DK value, a strong Fanduel value as well. His Fanduel projection would be almost 33 points. His DK projection around 32 as far as the median projection. 31 minutes is what they're giving him, by the way. This is if Porzingis sits. Tatum would have a DK projection above 50. Jaylen Brown 39-ish on DK, so those guys are all playable. Holiday, we did see a Holiday ceiling game. I think he almost have a triple double, or did he get the triple double? He was really good, so it was nice to see him having a big game with Boston, still figuring out how to play with those guys. Minnesota, you have any interest as far as the fringe players on Minnesota? I say fringe, but like Naz Reid, Kyle Anderson, the slate's got a lot of good studs, but there's not a lot of great cheapies, and that's one of the reasons why Gogo Batadze I think is going to get so much ownership. And he's not even like super cheap. He's cheap, but it's tricky as far as the builds. Are you finding it difficult to feel good about the players that are like 5K and under? And are Kyle Anderson, who's not even 5K, he's 5'6", and Naz Reid's 5. Oh, you know what? I'm looking at the Fanduel prices. I thought they were cheaper. But yeah, as far as those guys on Minnesota, Reed, Anderson, do they work for builds for you? And just in general, who are your favorite cheapies?
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to have a little bit of exposure to this. That's part of why I said I think Goga is in play is like 60. Like I plan on 60 to 80%. I wouldn't call you crazy for locking him, but there's also game theory in tournaments. Naz Reid is a massive permanent producer. It wouldn't surprise anybody if Naz Reid outscored Goga Batadze. So I definitely want some Naz. Kyle Anderson can do it as well. I don't think it's going to be anywhere near as often as somebody like Naz Reid, but he's in play just because he is so cheap. He's going to be out there for upper 20s minutes more than likely. So I don't hate Kyle Anderson. I definitely prefer Naz Reid if picking between the two, but they are in play.
All right, Utah and Chicago, 222.5 is the total. Chicago is a 4-point favorite here. Bulls at home versus the Jazz. Let's see, I'm pulling up my injury stuff now. I should have had it ready to go as I started talking, but bad job by me. I was staring at something else. Chicago, I think, is fully healthy, right? Tsumo, we're not sure if he's going to play or not. He was out last game because he was ill. Utah is fully healthy. We saw Torrey Craig jump in the starting lineup, and I saw him hitting some optimal stuff earlier in the day. This is not somebody I want to be over the field on, right? Torrey Craig, we talk about minutes equal money, but Torrey Craig's his minutes are they were created poorly. Not all minutes are created equal, and you don't really want yourself a lot of Torrey Craig, but he is cheap. He's in the threes, right? Is he somebody that you're considering? I'm assuming you're not happy about it, but like if he's going to start, theoretically, he could just fall into some stats.
Yeah, maybe. You were complaining about your Heat being bad. My Bulls have been they've looked like they should have blown this up 2 years ago, but they have no choice at this point. It is not working. They have just been atrocious to start the year. I think Craig is where you start here because he's one of a few 3K range players that are playable. He's more than likely going to start for Patrick Williams again. Patrick Williams just doesn't look like he's going to figure it out. Craig should be out there for mid to upper 20s minutes. So like as a guy playing that many minutes in the 3K range, he's in play, but he doesn't do a ton while he's out there. It's not exciting. Like you said, you're only playing Torrey Craig to be able to jam in other stuff throughout your lineup.
You want to guess on his usage? You probably know this because you're always messing with me. What would you get? This is this season. So what's his usage this year? Torrey Craig.
I don't have every player's usage rate memorized, but I probably have a fair guess. I'll go like 14%.
Oh, you're being too kind. 11% usage in the season. 0.74 DK fantasy points per minute, which I think is going to be less than that when it's all said and done. I feel like he's overachieving. He's not a 0.74 guy historically, right? He's lower. I think he's lower than that.
I will say that they did bring him in because of their serious lack of 3-point shooting. With this team and as they're constructed, I could see him getting the slight uptick from his career usage.
That is the new, like the new team philosophy. Supposedly, is to shoot a bunch of threes now, right? They finally got on that 3 is greater than 2. Good job, Chicago.
Right.
And great that you have DeMar DeRozan in your team as well. It's a great player to be featuring under that concept. And they also yield a bunch of threes too. So I guess the best play on Utah is probably Jordan Clarkson. If you're going to pick somebody on Utah, it's not Walker Kessler. Man, I love Walker Kessler. What happened to him? John Collins stole all his minutes.
Yeah. Yep.
But like, why? I guess Utah still thinks they can like do something with John Collins. I don't know, but Kessler's somebody they should be developing. But all right, whatever. Feels like it's been derailed there a little bit. And the problem is that DK is like still. Why do they like give like Chicago like players like 5% discount on prices across the board? You've noticed this, I'm sure. But why do they like they want to sucker people into playing Bulls?
Exactly. They're tempting us into playing them. I've been playing Bulls the same way all season long. You put Vucevic, DeRozan, and Levine in a group and you limit it to 1 max per any lineup. It wouldn't surprise me if any of them found a ceiling. It's a good matchup here against Utah. They've been one of the worst defensive teams in basketball. So Levine, DeRozan, Vooch all could go off in this spot. I don't think more than one of them are going off. I would not allow more than one of them in any one of the lineups that I'm building today. On the Utah side, I do think Clarkson and THT even are in play. They're in that 5K range that kind of is the range you're building for value. Both have shooting guard eligibility as well, which is helpful. And then Lauri Markkanen is confirmed vengeful if you want to go that route.
Is he? What's the backstory in that? Oh, he hates the Bulls.
He was drafted by the Bulls and then a sign and trade from the Bulls, but he has smashed the Bulls. I remember a couple of just monster games. I think one with Utah last year and one with Cleveland, I think. But
sounds familiar.
He's put up some ceiling games against the Bulls. Probably not something I'm trying on a 12-game slate, but just wanted to throw it out there.
Who was the guy that got punched in the face? Was that Mirotic? Was that? I think it's somebody else. Am I confusing him? Didn't somebody get punched in the face as a? No, Bobby Porter. He was the puncher. Who was the puncher?
The puncher. Yeah, you're right. I think the punchy is no longer in the league, but yeah, I do remember that situation.
He punched him right out of the league.
Yeah.
All right. By the way, Washington, we have Kispert, Avdia, and Gafford all available to play. J3 in chat said Sharks are going to be playing 2 Wizards in cash tonight. Are they? I got to run some stuff. Am I missing something? Why are Sharks playing 2 Wizards, and who are those 2 Wizards? I don't trust their rotations. It's just nonsense.
There's no way.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know if J3 is just having some fun there in chat or not. He before the show started, he was the first commenter, said, "We want Keith." Well, you got Keith, and Keith just told you you're wrong. So, well, we have one more game until we yield to crunch time. We'll do that in just a second. Do want to mention, I'm not sure, Keith, if you had a chance to mess around with SimLabs. Going to tell the people about SimLabs. It's just dropped. It's NFL only. You can run some showdown slates. You can run the main slate for NFL. It's NFL lineup building tool for a limited time. It's actually free. You can play this free. SimLabs, it's a brand new product that generates DFS lineups with the power of, wait for it, simulation. Combines data from every aspect of the slate to churn out lineups that match your preferences. In just a few clicks, you can have hundreds of well-built correlated lineups ready to go for whatever contest type you're playing. Check out the description in the link. There's a link in the description box there for you. Again, it's NFL only. It's currently free. I don't want to put you on the spot, Keith. I don't know if you're a sim bro or not. Do you have time to talk about it for 30 seconds? I'll get one more game before crunch time comes in. But any thoughts as far as SimLabs, messing around with it?
Yeah, I have messed around with it a little bit. I played a couple of showdowns prior to this week, just testing it out and things like that before it was officially live. Now that it's officially live, I used it a little bit on the main slate. It was not a great weekend for me, not because of SimLabs, but just because I made some poor choices and selected a few of the wrong lineups. But it's just a super efficient way to build correlated lineups that are just way better than you can build if you're sitting there hand selecting them. And what I love about it is they're like you get correlation automatically just because those are the things that win in contests like that. So you don't have to sit there in lineup HQ and build out. Like there will be slates for showdowns where I have like 20 different showdown groups. It saves so much time. You literally just click a button and boom, you have correlated lineups that all make sense. And the thing that I really like to do with it right now is if I'm playing 20 or 40 lineups, I'll build out 150 lineups. And you can literally go through and of the top rated ones, hand select your favorite ones, save them, and then just export that CSV right into DraftKings or Fanduel. Or it's DraftKings only right now, I think. But Fanduel is coming. Other sports are coming. It's an amazing tool. Super excited for it. When we get this thing for NBA, it's going to be just absolutely awesome. But that may be a little ways down the road. I'll definitely be using it for my showdown lineups tonight for sure.
Not my department, but my understanding is that's on the list. It's going to be an NBA product as well at some point. Again, link is in the chat. Producer Steve just dropped it. Last game on the slate at 9:00. Again, so weird. 12 games, 11 in the first hour block are tipping off. They're locked, right? But they got to do things for 10 minutes before they tip off. 221 is the total. Denver is a 6-7 point favorite here versus the Pelicans. We know that Jamal Murray is out. Jokic is officially questionable. He does have a wrist. He was seen with ice on it earlier today, but I assume he's going to play. I'm sorry, did I say questionable? I meant to say probable. He's officially probable. And as far as New Orleans, oh man, it's just a disaster. Every single day it's something new. Alvarado is out. He's still out. Murphy's still out. Marshall's still out. Now CJ McCollum has got that lung. So he's going to be out for I think a while. Hopefully we wish him the best, but he's not playing basketball tonight. And I was talking about this in the Discord earlier today, and they're like, well, why is New Orleans not popping? Because all these guys are out. Now McCollum is out. It's a bad matchup for one, but I think more so the salaries on these players have all adjusted. They've been hyped up in the absence of Ingram before, in the absence of Zion before. So, there's really no value. So I guess you can play Dyson Daniels. He's certainly playable. You can talk yourself to Jordan Hawkins. We're not really sure as far as the starting lineup. And then the other side, Reggie Jackson, kind of like Dennis Schroeder. Like if you're going to play point guard for 30 minutes, I say it's point guard, but Jokic just makes you their point guard, right? But that's probably the most appealing plays in this slate on this game, outside of Jokic, who's just like, a monster every single night. What do you got as far as New Orleans, Denver? I believe the crunch time team is coming in here shortly.
Yeah, on the New Orleans side, you nailed it. Like the pricing is adjusted. Like Dyson Daniels and Jordan Hawkins are not 3K because they've been getting run here recently with Ingram out. I do think they're very much still in play. And like you said, that the starting lineup could matter as well. Matt Ryan, I want to throw in that conversation as well. We saw him have a big game. One of the games that Ingram was out. Nothing huge, 27 DK points. That's useful at 4,200. So don't forget about Matt Ryan. Like any of these guys that were projected for low 20s, it wouldn't surprise to see them sneak up into like 26 minutes. And I think they're playable at that range. We talked about not loving the value outside of Goga. We've seen Hawkins have big games without Ingram as well. So I think all three of those guys, Hawkins, Daniels, and Matt Ryan, are in play as value pieces, especially if you're not looking to get way over the field on Goga. Brandon Ingram at that price, I think he could handle the ball a little bit more in this spot. So raises his ceiling for sure. Zion always has a massive ceiling. Tough matchup against Denver and Jokic, like you mentioned, but I certainly want a little of exposure to both of those stars. Denver side, it's pretty easy. It's Jokic and then a sprinkle of Reggie Jackson, I think. But yeah, love the spot for Jokic with no Murray. Triple-double on layaway, I think, here in this spot. Reggie Jackson is never a comfortable click, but he's starting at point guard for 5,500. So I think that there's
not officially starting, but we're assuming he's starting, right? Is he officially starting?
Not officially, no. But I think I thought I saw a Beats tweet that he was expected to step into the role and that Gillespie would fill the backup minutes. But I don't think that's official yet.
One more is I was asking earlier about putting in rules. And this, I feel like if you're playing Ingram or if you're playing Zion, you're hoping this game stays close, obviously. So maybe you want to pair him with Jokic. If not Jokic, somebody on Denver, and probably Jokic. If not Jokic, obviously salary reasons, maybe Arjax. But is that something you're implementing? In my head, if I'm playing Ingram, I'm going to try to play Jokic with him.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. If Ingram is going off in the spot, certainly it should be a close game, and in close games, we know Jokic smashes. So I don't think you have to do that in every lineup, but it certainly makes sense.
It's not baseball season. I was trying to think of like gimmicks. We had Dean's Dongs, of course, Eisters, Fleisters. The people loved Eisters, Fleisters. And then I was like, what sort of gimmick can we have as far as like the play of the night? And then Noto, and the other day in his article was giving me all sorts of vernacular I was not fully aware of. But it came up, the no cap play of the night, I think is what we got to go with. SGA is going to be, he's the top play. He's going to somehow put up 60 DK points. Is that enough? I guess that's enough, right? 60 is fine. We want more. But a 2-point ownership, I just love that game. OKC and Atlanta. So what do you have, Keith? Who is your your player that's going to separate yourself from the field? Mine is SGA, and I'm going to try to pair him with Young. I think that sounds like a lot of fun. I don't know about the rest of my lineup. They're kind of pricey, but that's at least a strategy I'm going to do my best to implement.
So I was considering going Trae Young. So glad you mentioned that one. I'm going to go. This is the game that Giannis reminds us that he's really, really good at basketball. This ownership on a 10-6 Giannis is absolutely criminal. So give me Giannis.
Kevin Roth, TJ, Tim, they're here. Roth, what's up? How was your weekend? Everything all good?
It was good, but the last time I was here, I said I'd put all my money on Kyle Kuzma, and that busted. And again tonight, I'm doing it again. Help me, Dean.
Well, if you're doing that, I would pair him with Embiid or Maxey or both, because the hope there is that Kuzma gets to play 30 minutes because they're not getting completely shellacked by Philadelphia. So just throwing that out there. Are you spending up on Embiid? You spending up on Maxey?
No, I hadn't gotten that far. That's smart, though. I like where your head's at, Dean. I like it.
Why is Kuzma the first place you get?
I don't know.
Why do you like Kyle Kuzma?
Him. I don't even like Kyle Kuzma. I don't know why. I just feel like he's going off for 50, but help me.
All right, myself and Keith, we got some lineups to make. We're going to yield for crunch time. Do hit that like button while you guys hang out for Keith. And no, Keith's leaving with me. You got Tim, you have TJ, you have Roth. Roth, take him home.
Good stuff, as always. Welcome to it, ladies and gentlemen. This is Crunch Time. It is sponsored by Fanduel, as Dino mentioned, and it is the show where we bring on two of the sharpest minds in the biz. We got my guy TJ in the house with the tie-dye towel material hoodie going on. What's up, TJ?
Doing well, tired. Lots of content lately. Haven't been sleeping too well, but I'm ready for a big slate. We got NBA, we got NFL, 12 games today, and then a nice day off tomorrow. No NBA at all, so we're just going to be chilling, hanging out, maybe getting a little sleep in. It's a nice day off after a nice big night tonight.
Wait, why is there no NBA tomorrow? That's the thing? There's no NBA tomorrow? What are they doing to me?
Apparently, you guys are supposed to be voting for something tomorrow.
Oh, that makes sense. No, that makes sense. That's true.
And it's weird how many people I've reminded of that on these shows when I'm the Canadian one.
Yeah, that is a little bit sad. That says a lot about either myself or our country. I'm not sure which, but I do appreciate the reminder. And also, I appreciate seeing my guy Tim in the house. What up, bud?
Yeah, not much. Yeah, I mean, you get tomorrow off then, right? Right, Roth?
I mean, I'm sure I've got 92 articles to write and NFL forecasts and golf and all that, but I won't be on a show. I won't lose money playing Kyle Kuzma, so that's a plus.
Hey, that is a plus. Play hockey. Head over to the NHL Discord. Huge hockey contests tomorrow.
I'm in.
So play some hockey.
You have made that happen. We're doing it. Dean said we're playing NHL tomorrow. I'm in on that as well. Hopefully the Tampa Bay Lightning are playing and I can just stack them up. I don't know if they're on the schedule or not. Are you checking for me?
I can. I'm pretty sure they are, but I'm not positive.
Hey, well, everybody, welcome to it. Thanks for joining us. I mentioned we're going to take this up to lock and through lock. I also said this show is sponsored by Fanduel. I was supposed to have my Fanduel read up ready to go there, but I didn't. Let's talk about the slate a little bit. You mentioned that it is it's sizable here. TJ, do you feel good about where we're at and what we got?
I do. I feel pretty excited about it. There's a couple gross plays that I have an absolute lot of that I am pretty worried about, but a lot of cheap plays that I thought were going to be chalky that don't look like they're going to be very chalky, and so I'm going heavily overweight on them in tournaments so that I can get a decent amount of these spend ups as well. So there's about 4 games that I'm focusing in on and getting most of my exposure in those games, and then mixing and matching a couple cheapies and expensive plays. But I feel like I got a good handle on this slate.
Very nice. Okay, looking forward to getting your tournament takes. Tim, we're going to start with you. But first, have we noted that this show is sponsored by FanDuel? You can bet $5 on any money line, get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins, and all customers get a profit boost every day. New users in Arizona, Colorado, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Louisiana, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, and Wyoming. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 and up. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Tim, let's break down this slate from a cash perspective. The big question I have, because I really have not been paying great attention, is this one of those slates where we've got injury news we're waiting for in the later games and I need to pay attention all night?
So last time I was on a show with TJ, I think it was last Saturday, I said something very, very stupid. I was like, we aren't going to get news later. Don't worry about it. Well, it's the NBA. We always get news. But really, we've already gotten a lot of news. And so I'm not sure. I don't like to jinx it, but I'm not anticipating a lot of news because we've already gotten the news.
Great.
And what happened was everybody's in. We didn't really get any value, which is
the news was no news. Yeah,
the news was no news except for faults for the Magic, but that wasn't exactly earth-shattering news. So it's tough sledding for value on the slate, but so it's going to be, in my opinion, it's going to be tough to get to the super expensive options in cash at least, because you have to take some real serious risks on some cheap guys if you want to do that, which I'm not. So my approach for cash is going to be a little bit more balanced.
Okay, that makes sense. Let's dive right into it if you don't mind, kind of kicking us off. We like starting on FanDuel. Just walk me through a build over there, position by position.
I'm
Yeah,
putting,
sure.
before Tim dives in, as you're talking
Yeah.
about how it's a balanced approach for cash. I'm playing 20 entries in tournaments today, and I'm looking at my 3 highest owned players: Dyson Daniels, Dylan Brooks, and Marcus Sasser. So we're going stars and scrubsy for tournaments today.
Nice. I also landed on a lot of Sasser, so that makes me happy to know that one of
And I think Sasser would be like the only of the guys out of that group, TJ, that I would possibly play in cash, at least on DK. But yeah, it's definitely going to be more balanced for me for cash. But yeah, I'll start with FanDuel. I'll start with point guard.
Mhm.
If you've followed any content today, I'm sure that people have heard Tyrese Halliburton is in an amazing spot, and he's an amazing basketball player, and he is $9,800 on FanDuel, and you should be rostering him in cash games. You should probably be rostering him in tournaments. But yeah, he's definitely like first guy in. He's in a, like I said, great spot. He is an assist machine. If he gets his scoring going, then he's absolutely got 60-point upside in this matchup, this is an amazing matchup against the Spurs, who played an overtime game last night. So they should be a little bit fatigued, and Halliburton should be able to roast them. So he is definitely going to be in my single entry team and my cash game team. Now, like I said, value is really, really bad on this slate, but for cash games, point guard, I'm playing Reggie Jackson at 4,200. He's very, very, very likely to start. We have him projected for 31 minutes. It's not fun rostering Reggie Jackson, but if he's really going to get 30 minutes for 4,200, he is a necessity, because we really just don't have access to a lot of cheap plays. If you have the salary, maybe you could play Cole Anthony instead, or Jalen Suggs. But right now, Reggie Jackson and Tyrese Halliburton are my point guards on FanDuel.
Okay, let's keep rolling.
All right. So Asir Thompson, 6,600, shooting guard. Detroit lost a couple guards due to injury, so he gets a little bit of a bump. He's right in that mid-range that I was talking about that I like quite a bit tonight. Klay Thompson is only $5,400. I believe we've gotten confirmation that everybody's in, right, TJ?
Yeah.
Yeah, so like we were kind of anticipating some of these Warriors maybe sitting, but I guess it's not happening. So Klay Thompson at 5,400, definitely cash game. A good play in cash. Zach LaVine, 7,400. Friends Wagner, 7,300. But really, it's Thompson and Thompson for me at shooting guard.
Okay, keep going.
Yeah, so small forward, Paulo Banchero is probably the top play. I'm not sure if he's like an absolute necessity, because there are other options. Like you could play Brandon Ingram for only $200 more. You could go to Rosen at 7,500. There's also Harrison Barnes. I really like that Kings Houston game. So if you need the savings, he's a good kind of cheap play. But I think I'm going to be prioritizing Banchero, and then there's also Torrey Craig, who is like he's one of these really, really cheap plays on both sites, who's like super, super low usage guy, but he should play, and that might be good enough on the slate, like 25 minutes. If he gets you, say, I don't know, 20 DraftKings points, that might be enough. So I guess in cash games, he might be worth a shot if you absolutely have to punt it. Power forward, it's kind of tough. I want to play Sabonis, but I don't know if I can afford him. So I might have to go down to somebody like Harrison Barnes, somebody like Zion Williamson. I think Jimmy Butler is okay, but he's probably a better tournament play. But power forward is pretty bad. It's not really a position that I'm crazy about. Aaron Gordon at 6,000. He's currently one of my power forwards in cash, just because the Nuggets are shorthanded without Murray. So I don't know. He's just there, right there in the mid range. But and then center, it's real easy in my opinion for cash. It's Goga at 4,800. He's like another really, really nice salary piece. I would like to play Jokic. I just don't think I can in cash games. So it's going to be Goga at 4,800. And that's the only centers I would play in cash.
Did get somebody asking, no Wemby at power forward, and I'm sure there's Wemby interest in tournaments, but just not getting there in cash because of the price.
Yeah, that's a great tournament play, in my opinion. But 8,500, I think they're just way stronger plays and too expensive for cash games.
Yeah, very nice. Okay, TJ, let's bring you in here and talk about how you are attacking this tournament-wise. Sounds like you're getting a little more stars and scrubsy than the build that Tim's rolling out there.
Yeah, and I think it is just such a beautiful, beautiful tournament slate today. The one guy that I love in cash and tournaments is Tyrese Halliburton. He's somebody that I don't really care about the ownership. I'm eating the chalk. He's been incredible this year, and it's a great matchup. I like that whole game. And especially if I'm playing Wembanyama in tournaments, who on FanDuel is projecting for like 1% to 2% ownership, and Indiana is alongside Washington is just like one of the best possible matchups you can get in DFS. So I love a Halliburton and Wembanyama mini stack in this one. That's one of my favorite things to do in tournaments. At the point guard position outside of Halliburton, I think Reggie Jackson at 4-2 makes so much sense in cash and is just one of the best tournament fades on the slate for value. And so I think if you want to get away from Reggie Jackson, you go to one of two guys, if not both of these two guys, and it's Sasser at 4,900 or Dyson Daniels at 4,400, who I don't really understand why he's low owned. I think his projection should be higher. I think he should be like, without CJ McCollum, he's been playing low to mid 20s minutes every game with CJ, and now without CJ McCollum, Dyson Daniels, I absolutely love in this spot. I think he's going to be getting the majority of the point guard minutes for that team. And I think he's going to absolutely smash his price tag at 4,400. I also really like Malik Monk. He's somebody that I want to get to a lot in tournaments, not coming in very highly owned, sub 20%. And then another guy who's starting for Orlando today, projected for 30 minutes and sub 1% ownership on FanDuel. We need value. It's Anthony Black. He's 4,300 on DraftKings, 4,700 on FanDuel. He's starting for the Magic. Was serviceable in his first game, and he's somebody that potentially could put up a big game. We haven't seen much of him yet, but he's cheap and he's going low owned, so I'll take a shot there. I don't mind that at all. And then SGA and Trae Young are probably my two favorites for contrarian spend ups.
Okay.
I just wanted to hop in real quick. Jalen Duren is now listed questionable. I just wanted everyone to know that now.
Okay, is that important to you?
That game starts at 7:00. Yeah, if he is out, that's going to make both, I think, Isaiah Stewart and especially Marvin Bagley Jr. very interesting to us.
Yeah, so people need to pay attention to that. I just want people to be aware of it.
Okay, and we expect we will get that news before lock, in theory?
In theory, Kevin.
Yeah.
That game starts at lock, but with how things have been happening lately, you never know.
Right.
Okay. Well, if and when we see it, let's just stop the show, note it, and we'll talk about what we should do because of it, okay?
Yep.
All right. Excellent. TJ, keep rolling.
Most of the guys that I mentioned are point guard and shooting guard eligible, so there's not a whole lot to add here for tournaments at the shooting guard position outside of, like, Klay Thompson is stupidly cheap on FanDuel, and I think he's viable, but picking up a decent amount of ownership. And then DeJounte Murray was another guy, but that's more of a DraftKings play because he's quite a bit cheaper over there. So mostly just the same guy I mentioned at point guard at the shooting guard position. Then at small forward for tournaments today, I like Brandon Ingram and pairing him with Nikola Jokic. I think that's a very interesting tournament play. Jalen Johnson for Atlanta is somebody that I like quite a bit today in tournaments. He's been playing super well lately, putting up a ton of fantasy points. And then Cam Thomas is just somebody that on any random game can go up for 50 real life points. And the Bucks have been pretty terrible defensively so far this year. So I think Cam Thomas is a very interesting play at the small forward position. And then somebody that I am very uncomfortably overweight on today is Dylan Brooks. He's been playing mid-30s minutes. He's got a strong matchup against Sacramento, and he's actually been playing pretty well. He's $500 more expensive on FanDuel than he is on DraftKings, and because of that, and he's getting like no projected ownership on FanDuel, I still think he's a totally fine play there as well, to save some salary with power forward position. We're definitely going to want to keep our eyes on this Jalen Duren stuff here, because if he is out, Marvin Bagley at 5K, I think would be a very strong play, as would Isaiah Stewart at 5.6. As things stand right now, I think Domantas Sabonis is a very, very good fade at close to 40% ownership. Marvin Bagley expected to start at center with Jalen Duren now questionable, so that very much sounds like Jalen Duren will not be playing. And so Marvin Bagley is coming back into the discussion. And at center, who I like for tournaments, I think Goga makes for a great fade, although he probably isn't going to have near as much ownership now. Joel Embiid at low ownership, I think, is phenomenal for tournaments. I like spending down at point guard so I can spend up for somebody like him or Jokic. And that would mostly be it for me. Tim, why don't you kind of go back over how, assuming Duren is out, what are we doing with Marvin Bagley now?
Yeah, so assuming Duren's out, just so everybody knows, he is power forward center eligible on FanDuel, and center only. Bagley, I'm saying, is power forward center on FanDuel. I would play him at the power forward position. Bagley is only center eligible on DraftKings. Now it becomes a discussion about between Bagley and Goga, right? Or I guess you could potentially play both. I still think, I don't know, it's really close. I still think I'd probably prefer Goga, but I kind of want to see, I don't know. I might have to look at what the projection team says. But Bagley is a really, really strong play. But even better one on FanDuel because he's power forward center on that site. So I would definitely put him in your power forward spot.
Okay, very good. Well, let's kick it over to DK here. And Tim, I'll kind of let you roll through a build now, with assuming we've got, the news that we need.
Yeah, so it's Tyrese Halliburton again for point guard. No question about it for cash games. We don't really get the same great price on Reggie Jackson on DK. So I think it's got to be one of these Orlando guys, whether it be Suggs, Anthony, or Black. I think you could even play Marcus Sasser at point guard at 4,400 if you really need the punt. I love FEV today. He's 7,500. He's kind of at a weird price point. Great matchup against the Kings. He's one of my favorite. He's one of my favorite tournament plays. I mean, and you can certainly play him in cash as well. Shooting guard. Again, it's one of these Orlando guys, most likely, whether it be Suggs or Anthony. I think Zach LaVine is a really strong play. Malachi Branham, 4,100. We're pretty starved for value, so I think he would be an interesting play in that great matchup against the Pacers. That's going to be a great source of fantasy points that game. So I think he's a really strong salary saving option. Small forward, Asar Thompson, once again, one of my favorite plays. Now with this Bagley stuff, you might not need, Duren is officially ruled out. So now with this Bagley stuff, there's two really, really strong value pieces. So that might give you extra salary to like pay up at the forward position and get up to guys like, Braden Ingram or DeMar DeRozan, Karl Anthony Towns. It's like Paulo Banchero. Al Horford is definitely a strong play. But again, now this slate's all different. So you might not need that savings. And then center, on DraftKings. Now it's just Goga and or Bagley, in my opinion, for cash, and that's it. That's going to leave. That's going to leave.
Let me jump real quick. Is this enough value between the two? Like, are these both strong enough plays where you're like, okay, it's a 2-center night and you're plugging in one guy at center and one guy at util? Or is this not like screaming value where you feel the need to do that?
I'm leaning that it could be a double center night for cash, but that's going to leave. I mean, the opportunity cost at center is always so big. Yeah. So I feel a little bit hesitant saying that. The other thing is, I mean, we are loaded at center. We've got Embiid, we got Jokic, we got Sabonis. Like we have all these. We have Miles Turner in the mid range too. I mean, all these guys are really good spots, are such great plays. So it's tough. So I don't know. I'm gonna have to wait and see what the projection is gonna be on Bagley before I can make a real determination. But definitely on FanDuel, because you can play Bagley at power forward. So he's definitely in your cash games on FanDuel.
Okay. Did you go through all the positions? I'm sorry, I got distracted trying to.
I did. Center was basically either Goga or Bagley.
Yeah,
and that's about it.
All right, TJ, let me bring you in here. Give me your thoughts on the latest news and just in general. We still have like 20 minutes until lock, so just walk me through kind of like a DK build that you've got going on.
Yeah, so I'm now making sure I have one of Bagley or Isaiah Stewart in every one of my lineups today. And then I also think that I really like Bagley better than Goga if I'm choosing one. So that's kind of how I'm handling the Jalen Duren news. Making sure I get a lot of Marvin pardon me. Making sure I get a lot of Marvin Bagley, and then I'm hoping that a lot of people don't adjust to that as quickly. Point guard position, Dyson Daniels is my favorite play on the entire slate. He's my favorite value. I'm getting him in like 80% of my lineups. From there, Tyrese Halliburton, Marcus Sasser, Fred VanVleet, Tyrese Maxey, Jalen Suggs, DeJounte Murray, just kind of mixing and matching different players here. But Dyson Daniels, Marcus Sasser, Tyrese Halliburton, Fred VanVleet, those are definitely my top four. Shooting guard position, Daniels, you can play there as well. Malik Monk, Dylan Brooks, and Jordan Hawkins are going to be my four favorites. I'm saving a lot of salary at guard today, but I also really like Tyler Harrow in tournaments. I think he makes for a very interesting play today. Small forward position, I like Dylan Brooks. I like Brandon Ingram, Ausar Thompson, Franz Wagner. Those are the guys that I'm getting to the most, really kind of a mid-range position. And as gross as it feels, I think Dylan Brooks is actually my favorite play at the small forward position today. Power forward, Jalen Johnson, Isaiah Stewart, Victor Wembanyama, my top four. Little Jabari Smith, Ausar Thompson, and Paolo Banchero here at the position as well. That's a group of guys I like the best. And then finally at the center position, Bagley is my highest owned guy, followed by Nikola Jokic. I'm getting about half of what the field is on Goga Batadze, tripling the field on one Alperen Şengün. And then I really like Joel Embiid for tournaments, and Anthony Davis isn't bad there as well. He's been absolutely smashing.
Okay, very good, guys. So we have oodles.
Bagley is projecting better than Goga, so I would definitely pivot to Bagley over Goga, but you can certainly still play both on DraftKings if you want to.
Okay. We've got all kinds of time, like really way too much time. So let's dive into some questions. And I think I probably have a couple more reads that I need to hit as well. By the way, obviously NBA, we're crushing it. I don't know if you're aware of that, but that's what's happening. Make sure you're checking out our incredible array of premium offerings right here at RG. For a limited time, you can lock in a full season of NBA premium, $50 off everything from lineup HQ access with up to the minute premium projections, ownership, fantasy pick'em tool for prize picks, underdog, a whole lot more. Check out the link in the description for more info. Make sure you are getting in on that. And then we've got the Sims Lab. Have you guys checked out the Sims Lab tool yet?
I have been doing it for basically every NFL slate.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome for Showdown. I really like it for Showdown.
It is absolutely fantastic. We've got a Showdown slate going down now. This tool is still free right now. It will not be forever because this is still We're kind of beta testing it. So this is SimLabs beta. Make sure you're checking it out. I did it. I built lineups super quick, made money, and there were a ton of big winners over the main slate. Like people won tens of thousands of dollars just using SimLabs. Brand new product generates DFS lineups through the power of simulation, combines data from every aspect of the slate, churn out lineups that help you match your preferences. Literally just takes a few clicks. You can have hundreds of well-built correlated lineups ready to go for whatever contest type you're playing. Link again in the description for that. This is like the new hot thing that we've got. It's cool. I highly recommend you look at it. Let's take some other QQs. We want Dean says, hey, I'm not asking for any financial advice here, but can we get TJ's money line lock of the night? I need to be the one to point out it's that we don't get pulled off YouTube or banned. We do not offer locks. We cannot even jokingly say we offer locks, but we can give you TJ's.
That was well done. That was well done, Kevin.
Thank you.
Very
Thank
well
you.
done.
I sat through the trainings, plural, many of those trainings. TJ, it is not a money line lock, but do you have a favorite money line bet here?
I don't think I bet on a money line the entire season. That's not really my bag. I could try and pull something out, but I don't want to lead the people astray because I don't look into that kind of thing at all.
Okay, that's fair enough. Then let's do what you do. What you do. Sean says, hey, all the values at point guard. Anywhere else? That was before
That was
the go
long ago.
That was long ago, my man. FanDuel Cash, Tim, Bruce Brown or Harry Barnes? I landed on Barnes and then I redid everything.
Barnes is still fine for cash.
Yeah. Okay. Any Sohan? There's a guy I have a decent amount of. Any Sohan on FanDuel with the thought that he could play more minutes with Vassell out? You know, is he still doing like point Sohan right now?
I think that's fine. That's a fine play.
Yeah. Okay.
And I love that game. That's like my favorite game on the entire slate. So getting exposure to that in tournaments, I think, is great.
Okay. Alfredo says, hey, TJ, is there any reason why Al Horford is projecting so well? He's in all the optimals.
Maybe refresh.
Yeah,
Because...
you should be getting a ton of Bagley now over Horford.
Okay. There you go.
And like Porzingis was questionable before and now he's not, so I don't think that should be the case.
Okay. Good stuff. Mike says, FanDuel GPP TJ, how about an OKC Atlanta mini stack, Chet and Murray at 1% or less ownership?
I like Chet there a lot. I love that play.
Great. Okay. Bill T in the chat says he's loving Sasser. It's his hillbilly sleeper of the night. Yeah, we're with you, man.
I like that.
We are Sasser fans. I thought I was being sneaky. I didn't look at any projections. I just built a lineup this morning, and Sasser was like my first guy in.
Oh, it is sneaky.
It is?
It's not sneaky.
I don't think he's going to be that chalky.
Good. It makes me feel smart when I do things like that. Even if he busts, it was still the right play, I think. FanDuel Cash, Tim, DeRozan or Franz Wagner?
Yeah, that's super tough. I'm going DeMar.
Okay. DKGPP, TJ, this is a 2v2. Oubre, Jabari Smith, or Osar, Thompson, and Brooks?
Thompson and Brooks.
FanDuel single entry, TJ, Big Hurt says, how many studs you getting in now?
Let's see here. Depends what we're categorizing as a stud, but I would say probably 2. I would go Halliburton and one other probably, or maybe like a 2. Whichever you're choosing, it's 2, I think.
Yeah. Okay.
The premium centers on DraftKings are going to be solo owned.
Yeah.
Because one spot's going to be taken by Bagley or Goga, and then a lot of people are going to play both. So that's going to leave like Jokic and Embiid like solo owned.
Why did I not do what Dean said and worked in a lineup with Embiid to counter my freaking idiot Kuzma play? I'm sorry, Dean. I let you down.
Because you didn't listen to Dean. That's why.
I didn't listen to Dean, and I should because Dean is smart. Gamble says, Tim, any Keldon big body Johnson tonight on FanDuel? He's got a good price with Vassell out. Good matchup. Should be low owned.
Yeah, great matchup, great game. I don't hate it. I think it's fine. He has a ceiling, so I think that's a fine play.
Okay. Yankee Man says TJ DK single entry. Your thoughts on SGA as part of a game stack?
Love it. One of my favorite things to do in tournaments on the whole slate.
Nice. Very nice. Okay. We've caught up on all the questions in the in the Discord. But let's jump over to the YouTube chat. We got plenty of questions coming in there. Bootleg head shopper. Is Green starting? Which Green?
I'm assuming Jalen, right?
Or Draymond. Draymond was questionable. Yeah, he's playing concerning.
Yeah.
Draymond is starting. That's the thought. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Here we go. Butthole Jenkins needs your feel it in your plums play of the night. TJ, who's your feel it in the plums play of the night?
Dyson Daniels.
Oh God, that's so good. What is his ownership going to be? Like nothing?
7% is what we're projecting right now.
That's pretty good. Tim, you got to feel it in your plums play of the night for me?
I actually really, for large field tournaments, I really like Anthony Edwards.
Okay. Okay, I like that. My confidence is shaken after I only went 1 for 2 on my feel it in my plums play of the night on Friday. I'll give you 2 more. It's Kuz and Sasser. God, I can't believe I'm going back to the Kuz well. God help me. What am I doing? I don't know. I can't help it. Ooh, what else do we have here?
You can help it. You can go somewhere else.
I can't. He's going to put up 35 points and board and dime. Like one of these games, he's going to drop like 60 DK points, and it's coming soon, and I don't want to miss it. Let's see. DK Cash, Levine, or DeJounte Murray, Tim?
I think it's Levine.
Okay. Chris Bledsoe says, TJ, your favorite spend up in a GPP?
Nikola Jokic.
Mm-hmm. DK GPP, back to you. Sasser v. Daniels.
Daniels, but it's so close. I love both of them.
Okay. Abraham says, Tim, what are the must-have core plays for the 4 o'clock games? He's clearly a West Coast fella on FanDuel. So for the 7 o'clock, the game's starting now. What are the must-have core plays? Is there anything that you've got locked in?
Bagley, I think it's an early game, right? Yeah, Bagley, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
And Halliburton. And Bagley are definitely your must-haves for the 7 o'clock games.
Very good. Mr. Richard says, hey, Horford is in many cash lineups on DK. Play him or rebuild. We're at rebuild now, right? Oh no, sorry.
No, I think it's okay.
It's like it's fine as a last piece type of thing, but like he's not like your core play guy that it's like I need to get Horford in.
Yeah.
I mean, I think for cash games, I think he's a very strong play. In large field tournaments, maybe not so much, but I think in cash games, Horford is fine on DraftKings.
Okay. We'll go to Cleveland Picker. TJ, your best plays 4,800 or less at small forward on our sponsor site, FanDuel. By the way, we've got about 7 minutes. So hey, sweetie. Daddy, love you.
Let's go with Malachi Branham.
Okay, very good. What else do we got? Here we go. DK GPP single entry from Dave Jones. TJ, you want Giannis or LeBron James?
Giannis.
Okay. Flying Armbar says, Tim, I'm getting too much Bags and Sabonis on FanDuel. Who can I pivot to? Those are 2 guys in very different price ranges here.
Yeah, so he's getting so much Bagley and Sabonis, probably at power forward. Mid-range guys that I love, Aaron Gordon, Zach Collins, Paulo Banchero are guys that Zion is another one that you can get to. That would be a good pivot. Miles Turner Ross Boyce, Sangoon, I think is great. So there are plenty of really strong pivots away from the Chalk Bagley Sabonis combo.
Okay. J3 says, Kuz is such a good play, Roth. Don't worry, baby. Yeah, that makes me feel good. Thank you. I am no longer worrying. He's going to drop 50 plus tonight. Darren says, help. I've got 7,200 per position left. I need a guard and a forward. Which one of you wants to tackle this? 7,200 per position, guard and forward.
Did they say what site?
It's guard. It'd be DraftKings since it's
got to be
guard and
DK.
forward.
Yeah.
Oh,
DK
okay.
with just like the generic guard and forward spot.
Right.
You want to help him out, Tim?
Yeah, I'm looking.
Just depends on the rest of your lineup and like, are you looking for somebody chalky? Are you looking for a spend up and a cheapie? Are you looking for two in the mid range?
He wants the best. He just wants the ones that are going to win, TJ. Don't overcomplicate it. Just give him the best ones.
That's a lot of math to do in a very short period of time. It really is. So we're going to go with Fred VanVleet and Zach Collins. Does that work? Fred VanVleet. No, that Zach Collins is a center. And Ausar Thompson.
Okay. All right. There you have it.
Fred VanVleet and Ausar Thompson. What do you think about that, Tim?
I would have gone VanVleet and Franz Wagner.
Okay.
But I think that's too much.
That's too much money. Yeah, that's too much money. That's why I went down to Thompson.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay. More questions. I was neglecting the RG Discord. My bad, homies. I'm sorry. Let me dive into some questions there. John Tom, DKGPP. Let's lightning around this if you can, TJ. Favorite forward play, 7,300 or less, or do I tinker and figure out a way to get Chet?
Franz Wagner.
Okay, great. Gamble says on FanDuel, I'm coming to you, Tim. Clay, Wemby, or Aaron Gordon and Cade?
The first one.
TJ, who are your three favorite guys to double-double tonight?
Nikola Jokic, Joel Embiid, and Domantas Sabonis.
Okay. Felt like cheating when you said those names, but we might as well throw in Halliburton, the double-double with the assists.
Yeah.
Let's do four. Don't listen to me.
No. Halliburton, I agree with that one too. You said lightning round, so I tried to give three quick answers.
You're right. Good job. NBA DFS says FanDuel Cash, Tim, Bagley and Michael Porter or Aaron Gordon and Bruce Brown?
Bagley.
Okay.
You have to play Bagley in cash.
Gotcha. Tim, back to you here. Keldon and Aaron Gordon or Zion and Bruce Brown?
I guess the second one.
Okay. FanDuel GPP, TJ, Reggie and Jokic or Reggie and Embiid?
Embiid.
Okay. Can we get Tim's favorite small forward on DK in cash, 6,500 or less? This feels like a crappy spot. I don't know why, but it just feels like a crappy spot.
Yeah, that's a really, really bad 6,500 or less.
Yep, small forward on DK.
Oh boy, I mean, I would really just find the 100 for Ausar Thompson. Really, if you absolutely can't, I guess it's Michael Porter Jr., but I think that's a pretty bad play.
Okay. Is it okay to play 3 Detroit players in a DK GPP, TJ, with no bring back?
I think that might be pushing it. I like it better at 2, but I don't think that's crazy.
Okay, great. D-Rock says DK GPP, TJ, Goga Oubre or Bags and Ausar. How the hell do I say that? Ausar Thompson?
I'm not sure, but it's the second one. I like the Detroit side.
All right. I'll work on that pronunciation. FanDuel Cash, Butler or Ingram, Tim?
Ingram.
Ausar. I think it's Ausar Thompson.
I think it's Ausar.
Ausar Thompson. Dwayne says, you want Keldon Johnson or DeRozan, Tim? KJ, big body Keldon or DeRozan?
Like, in terms of ownership, DeRozan's going to be way higher owned. DeRozan's probably a better play, but in large field, I don't mind getting to Keldon. So it really depends on your, risk tolerance.
Okay. Ausar. I got it. All right. Wiggy Joker or Buddy Embiid? Wiggy Joker. Tim, I'll give this to you. Wiggy Joker or Buddy Embiid? It's probably a GPP question.
Yeah, it's definitely a GPP question. I think I like Joker more than Embiid, so I'll go the Joker side.
Okay. Reggie or Daniels, TJ? Reggie or Daniels?
Daniels.
We've got less than 2 minutes until lock here. Ball says FanDuel Cash, Butler or Ingram? TJ, Tim, Butler or Ingram?
Ingram for me.
Okay. Devontae says Brown or Paolo? TJ, Brown or Paolo?
Paolo.
Paul says, do you guys like Hawks Bogdanovich on a DK GPP? TJ, you got any Hawks Bogdanovich? No. And Tim had really did not like it.
I really like that game, but I don't think that's a great play from it.
Okay. Steven Smith says power forward 5,100 or less cash. Tim, not Horford. He says I ain't doing it, or maybe he's probably already doing it.
Did they say which site?
Yeah, DK 5,100 at power forward cash, not Horford.
Man, it's pretty bad if you don't do. I guess Jalen Johnson.
Okay.
No, you can't do that. Maybe go slow-mo and pay it for 4,500 and pay up somewhere else.
I landed on one of those builds. It wasn't fun clicking that name. Let me tell you, did not enjoy it. Space Cadet says, Space Cadet text or no Space Cadet. Anyways, Boncaro or Wemby in cash. Tim, what do you got?
It's Boncaro and cash.
Wow. Okay. With that, gentlemen, we hit the lock. Beaner says, hey, would you fade Halliburton in a FanDuel GPP? TJ, you said you're in on that dude in cash and GPPs.
I am, but it's also too late because that one is locked.
There you have it. But he's in on it anyways. But like fading a dude at super high ownership is never crazy. It just
you
probably won't work out.
You can fade people whenever you want. I mean,
exactly.
Really,
yeah.
You're always allowed to do the thing that probably won't work out, but if it does, could really freaking help you out. Like that is always allowed.
Yep.
That's why I keep freaking playing the same idiot Kyle Kuzma. One day he's going to make me a lot of money. All right, we're going to bounce on out of here, guys. For TJ, for Tim, for our wonderful production crew, always working hard behind the scenes. Guys, we appreciate you. We love you, and we will catch you tomorrow. You have been crushed.